This is a lot of chests, and this is even more chests. But you know what, we still have a ton of wood still to our name, which under normal circumstances would be more than enough. But seeing as we've got to fill this space with thousands of chests, this space with thousands of chests, this space with thousands of chests, and 4 other huge rooms that still need to be carved out and also filled with thousands of chests, it's safe to say that while this is a lot of wood, it's not enough for our purposes. And while I know some players don't like to destroy their world's landscape, I have no qualms over deforestation in Minecraft, and it's typically how I get wood. However, it leads to these large deforested spaces, which I want to make clear is not a problem for me. The problem is that I have to fly a little bit further each time to find new forests to chop down. Again, not the biggest of issues. There are things we can do to get around this, like setting up nether travel to get to locations further afield at a quicker rate. Plus, in reality, with an elytra, it doesn't take long to fly thousands of blocks from home, and I imagined it'd take me a heck of a long time to remove all of the forests within a dozen thousand blocks radius of home base. But still, despite that, I'd like something more convenient and closer to home for every wood type. That's oak wood, birch wood, spruce wood, dark oak wood, pale oak wood, cherry wood, acacia wood, mangrove wood, and jungle wood. Although the jungle farm will mostly be for aesthetics, I think if I actually want serious amounts of the wood type, I'm going to need to spend time at a jungle because of their abysmal sapling drop rates. Like seriously, why are they so inconveniently bad? Oh, and don't be expecting anything automated or of that fashion, despite yes having the redstone to be able to do it, because with us needing to still add in at least 7 times the number of chests that are in this room to the base in general, I'm concerned that the number of things we're going to have going on in this area is going to contribute to lag, and after having experienced firsthand via thousands of cows and sheep how lag can cause the game to become unplayable, I don't want to over encumber the game where possible. I say as I plan to have 40 to 50,000-ish chests in the area. Plus, and more realistically, I have no idea how to make an automated tree farm, and unapologetically have no desire to learn how to do one at this point in time. So they're going to be the good old-fashioned manual farms. And you're going to have to trust the vision with this one, because when I think about all the things we've got to do, the aesthetic, shall we say, may be put on hold. Not a problem for me, but I know for some of you artists out there, this is going to hurt your soul to watch. So you might have to close your eyes and listen to me. In fact, let's do a test right now. Sit back in your comfy warm chair and let me explain that I'm currently putting together the most grandiose, architecturally complex design your eyes will have ever seen. No. Don't open them yet. Just take my word for it. You don't want to? Fine. So let me tell you what I've actually got planned so you can put your mind at rest. And if that doesn't work, I don't know what to say. So, like what I've done here with this extremely simple preschool level of design oak platform that is now our oak tree farm, I want other platforms created of all the different wood types dotted around the base. And then underneath the platform, I want to create a custom tree growing up from the ocean floor to the platform, holding it up in place. So it's not just a floating platform. But if we've still got to fill in 7 of these rooms full of large chests, we're not going to have the wood to spare for a while. So if that means we're going to have ugly floating platforms dotted around the ocean for a while until we get around to fixing them up, then so be it. As long as it does what it's meant to, provide us with wood, then I'm happy. And it's close by. Now, because of our mass chest crafting sessions we put in when filling the nether level full of chests, we went through most of our wood. While yes, I do have a heck of a lot of the stuff that I showed you, that was mainly birch wood, with a good few stacks of oak, with the rest of the wood types being sprinkled in amongst the stock in much lesser quantities. Because I'm sure you've noticed the oak farm was made out of oak wood, the birch farm was made out of birch wood, and I'm going to be making the spruce farm next, hence why I'm out collecting spruce wood. And while I'm in the mood to collect wood, I might as well collect more of the other wood types I'm going to need to build more of the other tree farms. So that's going to be dark oak wood, pale oak wood, cherry wood, acacia wood, jungle wood, and unfortunately mangrove tree chopping. Everyone's favourite tree to chop down, plus a load of extra dirt for planting the saplings into. To be fair, I probably have enough within our storage, but would you want to rummage through this looking for them? Although having said that, I think I've seen multiple stacks of dirt while trying to make my point. So now it's redundant, not that it matters. It only took a couple of minutes to get an inventory's worth full of dirt, and now we've gotten a stockpile of the wood types, we can continue building the tree farms. By the way, curse mangrove trees, they're the worst. The spruce platform is for planting the large variants. We don't want any of those single sapling trees on this farm. As is clearly on screen, we now have the 3 platforms dedicated to oak, birch and spruce respectively. But I'm wondering if they're too close together, especially if we're going to be incorporating large custom trees under each one of the farms. So for the cherry farm, I'm going to be making it a little bit further out. Not much further out, I might add. I don't want to be going outside of render distance, but enough that I'm hoping it doesn't make the place look too crowded. But who am I kidding? Even if it did look too crowded, I'm probably not going to move them. If mistakes are made, we roll with it. The cherry saplings, I'm going to have to give more space between each tree. They're not like the oak trees or the birch trees we can pack into closer quarters. No, these boys need the space to flourish. Though I will say a hot take of mine is that you should be glad I'm not running Mojang. Look, I appreciate a good looking tree as much as the next guy, and these things definitely turn heads. But the practicality of wood chopping when it comes to birch trees is unmatched. If it were up to me, all the tree variants would be like this. Even if you're a fan of cherry trees, you've got to admit, this is awkward. And so are these. And don't even get me started on these. Yes, I've somehow found a way to bring up how much I hate chopping mangrove trees back into the conversation. I can't even bring myself to do it to show it as an example. And to be fair, I know all of you watching agree with me about mangroves. They're a little bit of a catch-22 situation because the wood looks fantastic. Although bringing the conversation back to what we were just talking about, I will alter my opinion slightly. I have no problems with chopping the giant spruce trees, or the giant jungle trees. They're great as well. And you know what? So are the dark oaks and pale oaks. So I suppose after some thought, it's only the 3 trees I have a problem with. Okay, and who could forget about the giant oak trees? Those things are a pain as well. And as I said earlier, don't suggest automated trees. They scare me way too much. Because I'd have to once again face the reality that I'm not actually that great at the game. However, I am a reasonable man. I won't say no outright. So behold, my redstone tree. Probably the most beautiful creation you've ever seen a Minecraft YouTuber create. I'm telling you, this thing could power a nuclear facility. Anyway, I'm sorry about that little rant tangent I went off on there. Next platform we're now working on is the acacia platform. It's a nice wood type, underrated in my opinion. Not that I use them that much. Like a lot of blocks, farms and projects, I have a lot of intentions. It's just getting them over the finish line, or actually start line is more accurate. Never seems to happen. Like copper. How many times have I said in past series I want to build with copper, and what doesn't happen? Building with copper. Oh, I want to learn redstone. I haven't said that one before. There are a lot of things I want to do, say I want to do, but much fewer things I actually get done. And I'm hoping this series is going to be the one to see me achieve all the things I do want to do, which if I was to show you my list of projects that I want to accomplish within this world, your eyes would widen anywhere from 10 to 15%. There's a lot on it. There's also a lot of weird things I want to do. Nothing inappropriate, get your mind out of the gutter, good citizen. Just random stuff that hold no purpose other than to have fun. The logs are some of my favourite logs in the game, I think because of the contrasting colours of the bark against the inner wood. An underrated wood type, like I said. But then again, what am I talking about? I am in no way familiar with the community's views of the different wood types. I'm not qualified to say if they're underrated or not, though I will say surely mangrove logs have got to be up there. They really do look so good. It's just... No, I'm not going to say it again, not for the 100th time. Oh no, what's happened here? Oh, I'd better stand back. It's going to be way too dangerous to stand close. Good thing too, we could have been trapped in that. Kinda need a swim to take my mind off of how close we were to that danger. Crazy. Never mess around with fire, kids. And feeling refreshed, we can get back to work, putting in effort into the next layer, the dark oak farm. A layer I'm particularly excited about because of how much I like dark oak. The surrounding area around the base is getting pretty full of stuff now, and we've still got 3 more tree farms to fit in somewhere. The pale oak farm, the mangrove tree farm, and jungle tree farm. I'd kind of been hoping for an unbroken ring of them around our little island, but it hasn't worked out like that, mostly due to my poor planning. If I'd had a little more foresight, I would have planned out the exact positions of each, but then it would have been a bit more tight fitting, and if we did squeeze them into an unbroken ring of farms around the island, Mojang's only going to be introducing other wood types into the game, so I know we'd then have to build another farm that would be oddly placed outside of the already existing ring, so it might actually work out better like this. And so for the remaining 3 farms, I'm going to build them a little further out so I don't end up with that one remaining farm being oddly positioned. Although knowing myself, it wouldn't tremendously bother me if that did happen, in that it wouldn't bother me at all. It's going to be a big help having all these wood types in the area, and I'll probably be chopping wood in between episodes. I've spoken in a previous episode of chore-like tasks I like to do off camera in between videos. For example, things like harvesting the amethyst geodes for additional crystals, harvesting the netherwort, harvesting the pumpkins and melons for trading with the villagers to make additional money so we can use for either spending or more going towards a second beacon, and now with having tree farms in the area we can add wood gathering to the list. It's just that in my mind, if I can do some of these resource gathering sessions off camera, it means when we come to do a project, if we need any of those materials, then we can just get on with said project, or at least have a good head start. Also, I'm not always going to do it, but if I've got the spare time to, then yeah, sure, why not? And it's not to say we won't be having resource gathering sessions on camera, because that'd be a lie if I said not. Because one, I can't continuously add to the amount of things I do off camera, because then I'd never post another video, and two, I'm never going to have exactly the number of resources to hand that I need. Also, just bringing the topic of discussion back to the tree platforms, this jungle platform, I think I said earlier during this video, is most likely going to be more for decorative purposes than practical. Don't get me wrong, I'll harvest them at the beginning like the rest of them, but because the jungle saplings have such an atrocious sapling drop rate, I'm not going to be surprised if we're not able to replant all of the trees we harvested, so it might mean some jungle sessions. Not an issue, I found another jungle only 1,000 or so blocks out rather than the 7,000 of the other one with the cool cave. And I'm planting the 2x2 large jungle trees. I don't know the maths well enough to know if these are more or less economically viable as a means of sapling return rate, but it's the tree I'm going with, and no surprises to anyone, we don't have enough saplings to fill all of the spaces in this platform. In fact, most of the platform is still left unplanted. Regardless, that is all of the platforms in place. However, it's not all of the wood types the game has to offer. I know I'm missing a couple more wood types, in the form of the warped wood trees and the crimson wood trees. However, I want to have these farms here in the nether. I don't build nearly as much in the nether as I do in the overworld for obvious reasons, it's much more dangerous in here. But once we have the nether hub built, or the foundations put into place, we can start building other things nearby, such as the farms for the nether trees. As it stands, these are a good start, and now we have a place to farm all of the overworld tree variants. And like I said, trust the process, these are going to be built up much more to look a lot better. I know they're currently just floating platforms, but they will get better in time. Now, last episode I uncovered 2 different amethyst geodes while mining out additional layers of the base/storage hub. There's this one on the very edge of the 4th layer, and this one in the top corner of the 5th level that will most likely border onto the bottom corner of the 4th level. And the great thing is, they're in our base, a place I'm going to be spending a lot of time in, during which the crystals will be growing into their large harvestable states. And with our regular harvest in between episodes, we're going to be getting even more crystals than what we collectively get from Geode 1 and Geode 2. Good news for us, and even better that both of these geodes, Geodes 3 and 4 I'm going to call them, are located in places they're not going to be getting in the way. Because if for instance they were located in the middle of the storage room, it'd be way more inconvenient. Nothing we couldn't work around, but it's better that they're not. In fact, thinking about it, they might have met the same fate as the geode did here in the cool cave number 2. I mined the entire thing out of existence. But they're not, so it's not a bridge we have to cross. Now, what I'm doing here is excavating the space around the geodes, so we have the space to put in a makeshift staircase/structure we can climb for reaching all of the amethyst clusters when they're ready to harvest. Also, I died from falling into my hole, which is why my levels are different. I didn't capture the death, but I did film the death screen at least. I'm having to use a backup elytra from my ender chest in order to go back and get my gear. All of this because I wanted to tower up on my coal ore to fortune. The only unfortunate thing about this excavation project, apart from me dying, is that it takes us slightly outside of the range of our beacon we've set up in the middle of our base, so we don't get the haste 2 effects. So I'm temporarily going to have to move our beacon block to a temporary beacon I'm erecting in this area. And once again I can enjoy the effects of haste 2 wherever I go. I don't know why I persisted for so long being mostly out of range. I've got to say, this amount of space carved out seems a little excessive, but you know me, I have an affinity for getting carried away when it comes to any sort of excavation task. Once I'm committed to something, I have to see it through to the end. It's not like I'm an agent of free will or anything and have the capacity to make my own choices and put a stop to what I'm doing and making the decision to downsize the space, saving me time. Although I have heard the school of thought that no one has free will and it's an illusion. It's an interesting topic, and honestly I'm nowhere near versed enough to properly voice my opinions on the matter, nor should I really. This is a Minecraft video, not a Robert Sapolsky lecture, and so I'm going to bring things back to this video and what I'm doing here, which is excavating the space around the second geode. I haven't mined geode number 3 at all yet, wanted to get the space around both geodes carved out first before moving on to the geodes themselves. No other reason than I felt like it. I've got to say I'm interested in seeing how I'm going to incorporate them into the storage room build so that they don't feel out of place. Or I might simply wall them off and have a simple doorway leading through to the amethyst rooms. I haven't actually decided yet. What I do know is I'm going to need to head to the Enderman farm to repair many of my pickaxes. Also, after having said that the previous space carved out around geode number 3 was too large, you're probably expecting me to make this space smaller, and that is way too sensible of an idea for me. And I'll talk you through my thought process. Room size carved out for geode number 3 was 26 blocks out from the centre of the geode, give or take a couple of blocks. Therefore, the space I'm carving out for geode number 4 needs to be the same. That's it. End of thought process. None of the logistics or more sane levels of consciousness entered my brain. As far as I'm concerned, it needs to be the same size. I can't say I can justify the size, but I can say we now have 2 carved out geodes waiting to be opened like a geologist's Easter egg. And a quick look at the statistics, our stone counter is the first block to surpass the 250,000 mark. All that excavation has left my tools low in durability. When you're doing nothing but insta-mining, it's surprising how quick you go through them. I think I'm going to need to get more backup tools at some point. Pickaxes at the very least, because despite having over a dozen OP netherite picks, I've still gone through them at the speed of sound. Enderman trip over with and fully repaired tools, I am now uncovering the inner part of the geodes, stripping away the protective layer of smooth basalt and calcite. Some good blocks, and I'm wondering if they're renewable. Can I get them through other means, or can I only get them from finding geodes? I know I could look on the wiki myself, but honestly some of you guys watching seem to be more knowledgeable than the wiki itself and are able to break information down into much simpler terms for somebody like myself. Yes, I am buttering you up because I'm too lazy to go check, but that doesn't take away from the fact it's true. Now, as I'm uncovering this inner geode and allowing all the budding amethyst blocks to breathe, some of them for the first time ever, I'm trying to be as careful as I can to keep them all intact, which you'll see I fail on, because I know I've mentioned it when it comes to the other geodes I consistently mine off of camera. They're as fragile as old china and as easy to break as a ball in said shop. And I'm a guy whose mind wanders, you might be able to tell from the way some of these episodes are laid out, and that leads to lapses in concentration, which in this case means for every amethyst bud broken, our farming potential decreases by quite a bit. It doesn't help that Mojang made these blocks really easy to break, and not helping myself, I have a haste 2 beacon in effect with an efficiency 5 pickaxe. Not a complaint, more of a self-assessment of my questionable focus and choice of tools for the task. task. What I will say, amethyst blocks have got to be up there with some of the most satisfying blocks in the game to mine. I don't know what it is about them, but I could mine them all day long. I'm talking being up there with the likes of bone blocks and magma blocks. That's high praise, I know, but I do have level 7 certification in block connoisseuring, making me more than qualified on the subject matter. And that's how I gained another 2 good sized geodes that will supply us with many more generations of crystals. I should really find something to do with them, a build to make them a part of. I hope I don't give them the copper treatment of saying how much I want to use them and then never building with them. Only time will tell, and I suppose it is only early days. You have no idea how much more we've got to do. When I say I've got plans, I've got serious plans. It's a good thing planning permission doesn't exist in this game, because I would not be getting anything done. Scary stuff, because I am keeping busy and I'm still feeling like I'm not chipping away at my to-do list. But that might be a personal problem of not zooming out enough to see the small paint drops that are being put onto the canvas to actually create a very slowly forming painting. Nothing like the Mona Lisa, I'm thinking more like my reception year drawings from when I was a kid. But as a wise man and mentor once told me, the journey of 1,000 builds starts with a single block. For instance, the blocks I'm placing here are forming a means to get up and down the amethyst geode so we can harvest all of the crystals when they're done. And so while it may not look the prettiest, it does work, and for something like this, that's all we want. And that's where I'm going to call it and wrap up on this episode. So if you've made it this far, wow, you are a real one. Thanks for watching. I still haven't forgotten about that cherry buying and singular tree. It's just I only seem to remember when I'm doing the outro, so maybe next episode. Maybe. Alright, bye.